Messy Color Wheel by Sarah Shore. So we're going to look at creating a color wheel. It's supposed to look messy. So first off, let's gather our materials. You're going to need, well, I'm going to show you the color wheel. We're going to create a color wheel, but a little different way than normal. But we are going to start with our main colors, our primary colors and secondary colors. So I need you to find colored pencils, oil pastels, and watercolors. So let's look at our colored pencils first. You're not going to need all of them. So definitely the yellow. There are two greens, and so we're going to have to think about which green are we supposed to have. I think the darker one is the one that's mainly in the center, but we'll look at it. And then we have orange, then we have blue. Again, we have two blues. So two blues and two oranges, two blues and two greens, one red, but we don't need the yellow, black, pink, and brown, and of course white. So those are neutrals, basically. And so we're going to look at our watercolors. Our watercolors are set up for the primaries and secondaries. You are not doing the black and the brown. There is no white in this one. And then we have our oil pastels, a little bit like your colored pencils. They give you some other colors. So you look at your colors and you're going to look at basically from yellow to purple. You are not going to need the black, the brown, the white, and the flesh tone or the peachy color. I don't really like calling it flesh tone because it's only a quarter of our population has that color. I don't even have that color. So let's start out by, looking at our paper. You're going to take and create an equilateral triangle. Don't spend a lot of time on that. You just want a triangle that's basically equal. So I'm going to start with yellow. I'm going to take a yellow colored pencil, and I am coloring just a little bit. And then I'm taking my red and putting my red down here. And there's two blues, so you can, I'm looking at the two blues. Oh, but I had picked up a purple by accident, so that's why good thing I tested it. Now, some of you guys, oh, I broke my pencil. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So let's be clear. You do have to do it this way. This is not an option. You cannot go and put your blue right next to the yellow. That's not the way this is happening. So I'm taking my oil pastels, and I am now coloring them right next to the colored pencils. I'm kind of exploring whether or not they're really kind of the same. And they are. They seem to be pretty much the same. And they too also have two blues and two greens. And so I take my oil pastels and put them right next to it because we kind of want to see if this will work. So I've done those. Now let's go ahead and do our secondary colors. So we're going to imagine that we've mixed two colors, but we don't need to because they've already given us them. So we're going to take two blues. I kind of overlap the two, so I thought that maybe that would be more of a true color because I think that lighter one's more like a yellow green. And now I'm going to take the blues and, I'm sorry, the purple, and we're going to take it just straight purple. And then we got the orange and straight orange, and we're just putting them in the spot that they would be in. If you wanted to, you could create another triangle the opposite direction. That's not necessary. I'm just showing you that it has to be in between. You cannot put the red in a different the orange in a different location. It has to be this way. This is not an expression of art. This is like science. Okay, so I've got purple. I'm doing purple with the purple. And now I'm going to go and pick up my next color, which is orange, next to the orange colored pencil. And then I'm going to do the same thing with green. Those seem to be pretty close together. There is the other green, and I think I'm going to put it just to test it, see what that looks like. It kind of seems like it's more toward the yellow, so I'm going to put it over here. Okay, so that's our problem. Sometimes the yellow greens and the greens and the blues and the light blues, it's about intensity of a color. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to then use our watercolors now that we've got our primaries and secondaries together, because we're not mixing anything yet to create our tertiary colors. So let's do the same thing now that we know where everything's going to be. We're just go ahead and just add water to our brush and then add water to our little paint. It looks shiny, but it doesn't mean it's wet. It's actually shiny because it's sticky. So I'm just adding some water to each of these colors, making sure my brush is clean before I go and change. So now I'm going to do my blue, and I'm going to color around where the blue is. Notice I have a lot of water in my brush, so it's kind of spreading out. Next is my red, so I'm going to put my brush in the red. Of course, I've washed it out, so there's no blue in there. So I'm going to add a little bit more because it was looking a little pink. But it's not, you don't dig and put your color in that way. Okay, here's orange. Doing the same thing. I'm just going to paint right on top of that colored pencil. These colored pencils are watercolor pencils, so they kind of bleed a little bit. And now I'm going to do my greens. And when I color right on top of the oil pastels, they don't do anything. It doesn't mix. It just is there. Now I'm going to do purple. Okay, so now we've got all of our primaries and secondaries done. Now comes the fun part of mixing colors. And it's important that you know how to mix colors effectively so that you can get a variety of colors. That's why they give you just a set. So I'm going to take the red, and then I'm going to take the colored pencil of violet or purple and overlap each other. I'm going to do the same thing with the oil pastels. I'm just going to put it next to it because I think the purple's a little different. So I'm going to put the oil pastel and the red together on top of each other. And so now I've done those two. Let's do this with the paint. So up on the tray lid, I'm going to mix on the tray lid. That's what that's for. And all I'm going to do is mix. I'm going to start out with purple and red. So I've moved the purple up, wash my brush out, put enough up there so it's worth my time. And then I'm going to take my red. I know it looked like I touched the orange, but really I took the red. And now I'm going to paint right next to those and see if I got a similar color. So notice it's different than the purple that is there that's the secondary color. That's important. Notice it's redder. So that's what we're doing. Now we're going to go and do the blue and the purple. And I'm going to now do the pencil. So take the blue, color down the blue. I'm going to find the violet. Take the violet, overlap the blue. I did the darker blue because it just seems like that seems what the watercolor matches better. I'm going to do the same thing with the violet and the darker blue. So I take violet and purple. That's purple. And so I'm going to experiment a little bit and take the lighter blue and put that with the purple. Let's try that. See what that does. So I'm experimenting. That's why it's messy. It's not going to fall into a little category of this is where it's going to be. So now I take I've already mixed my color, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of see if it matches. I'm painting right on top of it just to see what it looks like. And it looks pretty good. It's a blue violet. So remember, you're trying to get a completely different purple than the one that is made for secondary. So that's now a tertiary purple. That is blue violet. Let's do the same thing with green. Again, this one has two greens and two blues, and so I may do a bunch of different combos. So just kind of watch how I do that. I'm taking two dark browns, dark greens and dark blues and mixing those two. Now I'm going to take two light blues and a dark blue, dark green on top of it. I mean, we're going to get a bunch of different blue greens is what we're going to get. So I'm going to try the lighter blue with the lighter green, see what we get there. I mean, you're just going to have to experiment. Some of you may have colored pencils that are a variety of different colors. You can use those for this, but we're doing the same thing. You're trying to mix overlapping colors. All right, so I did this with the oil pastel. I know it's off the page, but I did the the blue and the greens. So it got a little off the page. So I'm taking the same concept that I did with the blues and the reds to create new colors. So this is giving me a bunch of different colors. So now I'm going to take my green, put it up here on the lid. Notice I am not trying to paint the whole thing, and then with a clean brush, I get the yellow. This is how I keep my colors clean. I don't go and mix them all. So that one, I kind of jumped ahead and went over to there. So I'm going to do the correct one that I was supposed to do, which was the blue and the green. And everyone loves the color that this makes. It makes a really pretty kind of really pretty tertiary color. This really beautiful color of blue-green. And you can add more green to it, and it becomes a more of a turquoise color. Okay, so here I am taking the green and the yellow and overlapping. And see why I thought that green looks more like a yellow green than really a lighter green. So now I'm going to take a darker green, or I guess I'm taking the lighter green now and put some yellow on that too. So let's see what that does. So I'm doing this in between the greens, not between the yellows. So all right, so there we go. We're doing yellow green. This is what we're trying to go for, is the yellow green. I guess I've done so many color combinations. It's just it's because there's two different greens, and so I'm kind of playing around, seeing which one works the best. And so I'm back at the blue green to see if the yellow green kind of works with the blue also. All right, so this one is kind of confusing. I'm sorry. So we're going to move on to the orange and yellow. So we take orange and yellow, and we're going to overlap orange and yellow with the colored pencil. And I'm going to do that with the oil pastel. Since there's only two colors anyways, that's all we can get. It's just a tricky time. Okay, so now we're going to take our orange. I'm kind of flipping things around. And I'm going to take my yellow and put it up there. And then I'm going to take my orange and mix those two together. So I'm putting more yellow in there than orange, just because I think it needs to be in that direction, because we want it to be not the same orange, so it's almost like a pumpkin-y kind of orange. Okay, so now we got the last one, which is the red and the orange. So I take my red and I take my orange and we overlap. And here we go. We got those two colors. Now we're going to do the watercolor. Mix those two together, orange and red. And then I'm going to just kind of like paint that area. Needs a little bit, it looks like it needs a little bit more orange, so I'm going to put some more orange in there. So it's not the same red. Notice the red's different. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back and bring out the primary colors again to get you guys to remember what the primary colors are. And then we have the blue. I'm sitting here looking, which one's the blue? It's so dark. And so this is it right next to the green. And this is why they put your watercolors this way and why they package things this way, so that you guys can see the spectrum. Okay, so I'm going to do a little thing where I take the line and cross over the color wheel, because the complementary color for red is green. I'm going to do the same thing with yellow. I'm going to go all the way across to purple. Notice they overlap in the middle. And then I'm going to do the same thing with blue, is I'm going to take the blue and the orange and cross each other. And you'll notice the center of your picture will bleed into each other, so all three colors will color in. Okay, so it's time to clean up my paints because every time you use paints, you need to clean it up. And I'm not replacing paints that haven't been kept clean. So we go and we clean up our paints and we add water to it. Take a paper towel. In my case, I'm using my old Starbucks paper towels that I had left over, and I'm cleaning the lid. So you're doing, whenever you do your paintings, you want to do that. You want to keep your colors clean. If there's a little spot where there's color in there, you kind of scoop it out, like I had a little bit in the blue, because if you don't, that color will become permanently stained because it's like Kool-Aid. That material is like Kool-Aid and it'll stain the colors. And then I close the lid and I put it aside. That's how you finish up, because artists always clean their stuff.